I want to talk about the dream that you're capable of. I want to talk about how long it could truly take to accomplish it. I want to talk about who you need to become to accomplish that dream. I want to talk about how, I'm trying to make sure I don't die out here. I've been running and I'm like on this hill and I can't see anything and it's nighttime. I want to talk about the gifts of who you are and what you're truly made of, and how your potential is so far beyond anything that you can currently conceive, and how if you're not devoted to expressing and sharing that potential and growing it as much as you can in a way which makes existence feel intrinsically as fulfilling as it possibly could feel across time, then the whole world, you have to realize, like, the majority of the world is steeped in like ego. And when I say ego, the way I'm using the word is maladaptive personality structures that are conditioned according to false beliefs about reality, and morality that is steeped in false understandings of reality and what is good and what isn't. And so you have to be devoted towards giving your gifts. In the Bible, it talked about, Jesus told a parable about one's talents. And I believe they were using talents as almost like a form of currency, fascinatingly enough, except now we use talents to mean the things that we are gifted at. The whole parable that he told was that God the Father, gave servants different amounts of currency. And because he did this, the different servants went out and invested the talents in different ways. One of them didn't invest the talents, and the other two did and got good returns. And he scolded and took away talents from the one who did not share them with the world, and with the ones who invested them and got returns and took those risks and brought more currency, more glory, you could say, back to the Father for sharing their talents. They were rewarded by the Father. So I'm a big proponent of devotedly sharing your talents with the world. And the problem is that most people have been conditioned to have their ego be subverted. So it's so important to give. I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's like a power supply company behind here. And that's pretty cool. You have so many talents within you. And this is what I'm really compelled by in life, is how many talents people really have within them that are not shining, they're not sharing, they're not giving them. And what the world would look like, and how bright communities would look, and how bright the world would look if people were like devoted towards seeing the value within themselves and what they were truly capable of, and what their natural talents were, and how they could best serve the world with them. But most people just don't understand that their ego is so conditioned by spiritual influences, by society, by people who've given up on their dreams, by people who never even dreamed that much in the first place, and by people that they work with and jobs that they work, where they're teaching them, or they're telling them like what's good and what's wrong and what the moral system is of like the boss that they work with and stuff. And so then in order to be a good employee, you have to like subvert your own moral system. And yeah, it's just really screwed up. And so I wanted to tell you that, there are influences in the world that can destroy your capabilities so much, and your confidence in yourself so much. And they can do it for so long that most people don't realize what it would truly take in order to like create the world of their highest dreams that's been created by them sharing their biggest talents with the world. And I know a lot of you probably don't believe in reincarnation, and I'm a Christian, but it actually was mentioned in the Bible. The Jews were talking to Jesus about whether he was a reincarnation of another guy, and he was like, nah. And anyways, yeah, the devotion that you have to be to really like exploring your talents and knowing who you are and seeing what you're capable of really sharing. I mean, that's a process that I advocate for, that you should be doing for the rest of your life, because if you truly care about life and what's possible, and creating the best things that you could possibly create, and the best experiences you create for yourself and for others, for animals, for all the beings of the earth, okay? Then you need to be devoted to this process and realize that, like, there is no better process to be devoted to other than showing up every day and intentionally trying to think about how you can live a life according to sharing your most talented gifts with yourself and with the world. I just want you to know how beautiful it is to be you, and that if people knew how truly long this would take, then they would be able to lock in at like a lower RPM and show up to this process so gently, right? I had problems with like what I perceived to be discipline, okay? But what I knew I could make up for in discipline was consistency with gentleness. And just like in a meditation practice, when you lose focus, the meditation teachers teach you to come back to your focal point, to anchor yourself back into concentration instead of getting distracted and letting your mind run wild and undirected. And so they'll say, like, come back to the breath, come back to the breath. And so in the same regard, I knew that even if I didn't have the discipline or the strength or the motivation that much, that I could come back to the breath in a sense. And I could come back to the breath, and the analogy would be coming back to asking myself, how can I spend my time in the most intentional way to produce the life that I most truly want to produce, that is created and lived according to me expressing the highest and most talented gifts of my soul, the brightest lights of my soul. Like, if you truly understood how long it takes, like, you shift in mindset from this is something I'm starting to do and I do it when I'm motivated, to this is just something that I do now because I know that the process works. And once you start getting into that state of mind, and then from that place you think about how could I make it work knowing that I'm always going to show up, then you can really then you can produce like a miraculous world, not just in this lifetime, but in the next lifetime, in the next lifetime, the next lifetime. Or, you know, take Jesus up on his offer, and then you go up in heaven and stay in heaven forever, and then help people on the earth in the kingdom of heaven with Jesus forever, and whatever else he would like you to do in the kingdom of heaven. But even if you're up there, you know, intentionally coming up with your best ideas and asking yourself, how can I share my talents with the beings around me in heaven or on earth, as much as you can, in a way that's gentle and supportive and makes you feel fulfilled, and just feels worth it overall. And if you just keep practicing that, you get stronger in that psychology, and just the potential is just, it's just, you can't even believe it. So that's my video for this evening. How to lock in with regards to being willing to take lifetimes, shift your mindset into a lifetimes mindset with regards to showing up every day and trying your best at giving your greatest gifts to the world, and getting amped on it, and realizing that if you don't feel motivated, it's because of ego conditioning, it's because of spiritual influences, it's because all the things that drag you down and don't see your value in the same way that you don't see your value. But there's ways to see your value. I'm a big proponent of using human design and astrology and studying your birth chart, and also praying to God and asking for a balance between, you know, his plan and also you know, supporting you in your free will to the degree that he wants you to use it in order to produce the best visions that you can produce, and then having a dynamic relationship between the two. But also being careful about any voices that ever speak to you, because there's a lot of spiritual beings that can pretend to be God. So you got to be real discerning about that kind of stuff. I've gotten in a lot of trouble with that stuff. And so yeah, that's my advocacy. And I'm really inspired by people's potentials. And if you'd like some coaching with me so we can explore your potentials and get you motivated and get you this energy that is motivated like this to keep going and produce a world that you truly know with a great amount of faith as possible, then I want you to reach out, and we will have a little phone call and talk about that, and what it would be like to work together and do all the healing you need to do and the mindset shifting you need to do, and me giving you supportive energy and accountability energy, and working together week by week on like phone calls and stuff like that. And but anyways, that's my little pitch there for helping people personally. But if you have any questions and any comments, put them down in the video below. I'm glad to have shared this with you today. Okay, this is Johnny. Bye-bye.